our show, Dilse Expertise. Plan a good holiday. Founders of LTM, Let's Talk Money. Specific life goals. And we have guests on our show who are experts in the field. There's a lot more. Yeah, and welcome. Thank you very much. If we have not met, my name is Vivek Sridhar. I'm a certified financial planner, wealth manager, teacher, blogger, mom, founder and CEO of Plan to Prosper. At Plan to Prosper, we help successful, busy working professionals and first generation entrepreneurs let go of well-paying, unfulfilling corporate jobs so that they can spend their precious time with people and on causes they most care about without the worry of ever running out of money or compromising on their lifestyle. We started doing Dilse Expertise in the lockdown. Our idea was to primarily try and talk about whatever's concerning people, whatever's top in their mind. And we brought a variety of speakers, starting from how do you improve productivity, to cryptocurrencies, to gig economy, to keeping emotional health, to derivatives, to writing a will, succession planning, to insurances, to do you take the moratorium or not take a moratorium. So it's been, we even did one on eye health, Vivek. So how do you manage eye health because there's so much exposure to computers. So we've largely not just covered things about money. We've spoken about everything that of concern, and something that shocked us recently is why you are there on the show, Vivek. You're the 13th guest, I think. So that's good. Auspicious. Yeah, all our shows are available on our social media handles, on YouTube, on LinkedIn and Facebook and Insta and wherever. So these links are available. So you can go and watch these recorded shows and snippets. And today on show, we have Vivek Sridhar. Did your electricity bill give you a shock? So I was just telling him that, the bill was 40,000 rupees and it gave me a shock. Yes. So Vivek is somebody we went to the same college, of course, a few years apart at NIT. Trichy, and then from there he went on to Stanford to do MS in renewable energy, and he's CEO of a few companies, most notably Shirol Energy, which is a solar energy curator, right? Who manufactures, delivers solar energy in a sustainable, economical manner with residential, commercial projects. And he also does some very interesting funded solar energy projects. It's very close to him. The way he talks about solar energy and sustainable energy, it brings out a lot of passion in the work that he does. And we're so keen to listen to you, Vivek. So why don't you tell us what was your interest? Share a little bit of your passion to all of us, saying, why did you choose to do something like this, sustainable?
Sure. Thank you, Bhuvana, for the very nice introduction. So if you look at it, after my bachelor's in NIT Trichy, I went to do my master's in material science at Stanford.
Okay.
I took up a class on renewables and climate change, and that was probably in my first or second quarter there. And it kind of changed my thinking in terms of what we are doing to the planet, and what are the solutions for it. So that's when I decided more or less that my life goal is to be in this field. And therefore, I started planning right then and there. I moved and switched to a master's in renewable energy, and started working, taking courses on solar, wind, biomass, name any other source, we probably had a class on it.
Okay.
And once I did that and I got back to India is when it hit me that we are sitting in the place which is really hot and has a lot of sunlight. It's a crime that we are not utilizing solar. Till 2012, 13, if you look at it, Germany was one of the pioneers in solar, and they had around 5-6 times the installed capacity of solar as India did. India is just picking up the pace right now, but we still have a long way to go.
Right, Germany has 70% sunlight as compared to India.
Yes. So Germany has probably half of what India has in terms of cloudy days, etc. and therefore the production from the same solar panel is going to be half. It just makes more sense for people in India to go ahead and invest in solar, not just from an environmental perspective, but also from an economic perspective from say 2015-16 as well. The solar panel prices have dropped almost 80% in the last 5-6 years, and it's made solar more mainstream, and that's something that gives me real good joy.
I mean, that's interesting to know. I mean, India being very price sensitive as a country, we just take our natural resources for granted. We have not done it. I mean, I think that's self-explanatory why we haven't done it. It's expensive to do it, right? So, but tell me something, Vivek. How much is the understanding for solar in India? What are the opportunities, and especially in urban India? What do you think the future or the application of solar is?
I think even though solar has dropped almost 80% in prices in the last 5-6 years, I think we're still very early in the curve. There is a lot more growth potential, both in terms of installed capacity, in terms of price reduction, and in terms of efficiency of your panels and your systems as well. So the potential for solar is there. When is it that are we going to jump on the boat is the only question.
Okay.
In terms of what we could do for urban India, if you look at it, if it's a apartment or say an independent house, today we can go completely solar. If it is an independent house, 100%, you could go completely solar, reduce your bill to zero. Yeah. We have done that to over 30-40 customers, and during the pandemic, they were one of the few people who actually called us and said, we're very happy that we made the right choice.
Yeah.
Because they had absolutely no bills to pay during these times, even though they used quite a bit. So the policy landscape also keeps changing, and there was a lot of interest and push from the Indian government initially to basically get more people into solar, but that's kind of reducing right now. So without the government support, solar will stand on its own feet. But yeah, it still does make sense to utilize the government support when it is available.
Okay.
So particularly for urban India, if it's an independent house or a stilt plus 4 building with say 10, 15, 20 apartments, I feel like going solar makes very good sense. If it's a larger apartment complex, say 200, 300 units in one place, I still feel the common area bill or your common meters should be run on solar. All of this make economic sense already, and they give much better returns than an FD for sure.
Yeah, okay, than an FD for sure. I mean, I'm sure during the pandemic, people are looking at saving costs, right? I mean, a penny saved is a penny earned. So every possible opportunity to save costs, what you're looking at. But solar has a lot of upfront investment that it calls for, right? I mean, how do you do that trade-off?
So it depends on what kind of system and what is the size of the system. If it's going to be a residential system, it still makes sense. In many states, specifically states like Maharashtra, where the electricity tariffs are very high. For upfront investments, there are now NBFCs which do a loan for solar up to 70-75% for a residential system with almost no collateral. Plus, we have a couple of schemes with nationalized banks, Punjab National Bank and State Bank of India, where they give you a long tenure loan for almost 15 years with an MCLR plus 1%. So that's going to be very low. At 5%, 6% interest, you're getting a loan for 15 years. So that reduces your upfront quite a bit, and therefore increases your return as well. This is on the residential side of things as well, where the project sizes are smaller and there's not a great credit history for a lot of different people. Therefore, you don't have too many other funds coming in. For larger sizes, corporates and SMEs, what we could do is we look at their balance sheet, we look at their track record, and we could even do a zero investment model, where instead of even paying an EMI, they just pay for electricity that's being produced.
Oh, okay.
So today, electricity prices for industries are between 7 to 10 rupees in different states.
Yeah.
And you can look at a 30-40% saving straight off the bat with absolutely no investment, just getting on a power purchase agreement with a company like ours, and we will install the solar, and we will also take care of the maintenance of it. So
Okay.
there is no technology risk that's being passed on to the customer.
Okay.
And
Okay.
because of that, they don't have to really think about, oh, okay, I don't know about solar.
Okay.
What should I do? What is a solar panel, or what is a solar inverter? And
Okay.
all of those kind of questions are just pushed off the table because we believe in the technology and we do the installation and we only charge you for the output.
And would the charge also be for a certain period? Because solar panels are there for life, right? I mean,
So solar panels come with a 25-year warranty, and all solar systems typically have a lifetime of around 25 years. So when we get into an agreement with the zero investment model kind of a thing, we look at a 15, 20-year agreement. Again, it's something that you could work out. It's a purely an Excel table where you know what's your capital, you know what's your return. So if you're willing to pay more on a rupee per unit basis, we reduce the tenure. So if
okay.
you want a 7-year tenure and you're willing to pay what you're paying to EB today, possible. If you
Okay.
want a longer tenure but you want to start saving today, it's possible. So
Okay.
it's only numbers on a table and we can always work that out.
Okay. Okay. So after 7 years, you could be, it's free, right? Power is free now.
Correct. So after 7 years or 10 years or 15 years, whatever is the term, we transfer the plant completely to them at almost zero value, or rupee one, because we have to have some residual value.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the production is completely free for them. It's
Okay.
just maintenance cost after that.
Okay.
And solar is one of the resources which have very, very minimal maintenance cost.
Okay.
Because all that you're doing is cleaning panels. And
Cleaning.
you don't need, you don't need technical labor. You don't need anybody. You just need a couple of helpers to go ahead and clean your panel and you will be done with it.
Okay. 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 No, that's pretty interesting. So you're saying on an independent home, which has got a rooftop, so you can bring it down to almost zero, the cost of billing to almost zero, right? I mean, how is it with homes like ours, where we sit in apartments where I'm on the 24th floor. So there are another 10 floors above me. So.
Okay, makes sense. So for large scale apartments, what makes sense is typically these come with their own sewage treatment plants. They have their clubhouse. You have a lot of common amenities where you're spending a lot of power. And
Correct.
all of this keeps added into your maintenance. Right. So you'll be typically in Chennai or in most other cities, you're probably going to be paying 5,000 to 10,000 rupees per apartment purely for maintenance.
Right, yeah.
Depends on the apartment. It could vary from 2,500 to 10,000 depending on the size. Right. So that's something that you could really knock off. And that's something you could start saving. And again, this being a large apartment and system size being larger, we could even look at a zero investment model for this, and where we could essentially look at without any, you start saving directly from day one. That's something that we could do as well.
So this is pretty interesting, right? So, I mean, when we saw the electricity bill and it was a shocker, now obviously you want to go and fight with the electricity. Here we work with the Adanis and the Tata and the Reliance. They are the ones who are power suppliers. Otherwise, it's the state electricity board, right? I mean, although you can take that way of going and fighting and resolving your differences, but I mean, that solved the problem for now. They've actually retrospectively changed the rates. Can you believe it, right? So, I mean, you're almost always at the whims and fancies of the government or a private owner, right? I mean, this is okay. It's a response. It's a reaction. But can you really think through a response that could pay off in the long term? And I was looking at some videos of solar panels on window panes. Does that work?
So that's called solar BIPV, or building integrated photovoltaics. Okay. Today, the efficiency of those panels are probably 1/3 of what you would have the efficiency of a normal panel that you would put on your roof, or maybe up to half in few cases. So if you look at it, the efficiency is less. It's probably not placed in the right angle as well. Because if you take a building, and if this is east and this is west, and you have your panels on the east facade, you're going to produce power only for half the day, from
Correct.
6 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah.
The other half, this is absolutely not going to produce any power.
Correct.
With a lower efficiency as well, you're looking at producing power probably 20-25% of what you would if you had invested that money on a rooftop solar.
Okay, on rooftop.
So if economics don't make sense today,
Okay.
what is happening in the solar field though is that the panels are getting more efficient over time. And even if you just take rooftop solar, the reason why we don't suggest a lot of solar on, say, an apartment like complex like yours, where you have 300, 400 apartments, is typically just roof space. We don't have enough roof space to supply to all the apartments below. And if one person puts it up, the other person does not have the space, then it becomes a tussle. As efficiencies improve, we will come to a state probably in the next half a decade where we'll have enough space for all apartments.
Okay.
And combined with that, what we will also have is we will have batteries which are now dropping prices like crazy. Solar panel prices dropped 80% from 2011 to 2017.
Yeah.
Battery prices have started the curve from 2016.
Okay.
So in another 3-4 years, by 2023, 2024, you're going to look at battery prices which are going to be 80% lesser than the prices which were there in 2016.
Okay.
So at that point in time, you can then start to store electricity, whatever you produce.
Okay.
So when you do larger rooftops and you start to store electricity, we are very close to being off-grid.
Off-grid. Very close to being off-grid.
Yes, we are very close to being off-grid.
And then we can start supplying electricity to the neighboring societies also.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can start supplying to the retail store right below. He will be willing to pay you a sum, and right next door as well.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, right now, can we also give the grids back some energy? Is that?
Yeah, so it depends on the policy, but typically what we have is called something called net metering, which means whenever you're producing power, you consume the power first. If you have any excess power, it flows back to the grid and your meter runs in reverse. Or your meter, essentially they will keep count of how many units that you're sending back, and your meter runs in reverse. So at the end of the month, what you have is what you have taken from the grid during solar not producing, like nighttime and other things, minus what you have sent back to the grid, and that is what will be billed to you.
Okay.
There is a slight variation in policy from different states in terms of how much they pay for sending the power back.
Okay.
But this is a standard policy across all states. You can connect to the grid and you can send it back to them.
Individual homes can do that? They connect to the grid?
Individual homes can do that. Even if you're a very small shop or a small house, you could still do that.
Oh, okay. So, know of examples where they've been earning money from the solar grids?
Yes, in Karnataka, there are examples where you're earning money from solar grids because they're sending power back. And Karnataka had a very good policy 2-3 years back where they were paying almost 7 rupees per kilowatt hour or 7 rupees per unit for what you send back to the grid. Whereas your cost of production is only 4, and people would oversize the system and actually get money from the grid.
Okay.
We are no longer consumers of electricity. We are prosumers, or we are producers and consumers at the same time.
Wow. Okay. So you're not just saving money; you're also earning money by making this investment.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I mean, give me some numbers if we can better understand it. If somebody's got a independent house and if they can put rooftop solar panels, how much will it cost them? How long will it take for them to break even? So just give us some numbers.
Okay, a typical independent house with say a 4-bedroom or a 5-bedroom would require between 5 to 10 kilowatt. Let's take 5 kilowatt, and you're talking about an investment of 3.5 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And with electricity prices, say Maharashtra at almost 9-10 rupees per unit, your payback is going to be 6.5 years.
Okay.
This is not considering any kind of tax benefit, etc.
Okay.
So solar has almost 60% tax benefit. You could depreciate solar, 60% of the amount that you invest in solar, you can depreciate it on day one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's for a new plant. If it's an old plant and it's a second-hand purchase that you're doing, you're going to write off 40% on day one or year one. So
Okay.
it's a great tool for tax planning as well.
Okay. 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 So I mean, in the first 2 years, you completely write it off, and then it starts earning money for you for the next 25 years.
Exactly. And if you take that into consideration again, your payback period will be as low as 3 years. So you're looking at a 33% return on your investment.
Wow. That's giving me that sparkle in the eyes. Can I just, I mean, I know I live in the 24th floor and I can't really do much in my house. Can I invest to put up that solar panel in your house, and then you can give me some money? Is that investment, if I have the money to do it? If you know, if investment is the hurdle, is that even a possibility?
So that is possible, but I would again suggest, instead of doing for an independent house, do it for a larger scale for an SME or corporate, where we also get guarantees from the corporate or SMEs for at least 1 year of production. So our investment is also safer, and you're looking at investor on a larger scale project will be looking at a return of around 15-16% without tax benefits.
Okay. Say that again. So 15-16%, did you say?
Yes, 15-60% return of 15-16% return on investment without tax benefits. You take tax benefit into consideration, you're looking north of 25% ish.
Okay. Returns from this investment, is it? So for example, I make an investment of, let's say, 1 crore of rupees to put up a plant, right? So how much in, I mean, I'm just trying to say, if I can't do anything about this electricity bill, I can't put up solar panels here. Let me at least earn money from somewhere to pay these kind of bills, right? I mean, is that even a possibility? So I'm just...
Makes total sense. What we would do, say we talk to HNIs and we talk to investors as well. And what we do is we form a separate entity, we form a separate company, and all your investment is asset backed. We are not talking about investing into a software company or talking about investing into a company which is currently pre-revenue. When you invest something, you're investing into an asset which produces a commodity like electricity, which is always in demand. So let's take your example of investing 1 crore rupees. So the typical debt equity ratio of a solar plant is 70-30.
Okay.
So, or 60-40, let's be conservative. Okay. So you put in 1 crore, we're going to raise debt of another crore and a half, or 1.25 crores. So we're looking at an overall project size or a pool of around 2.25 crores. Okay. With 2.25 crores, we could do close to 600 kilowatt of installation.
Okay. Okay.
So 600 kilowatt is going to produce, sorry, I'm just using the calculator, but 600 kilowatt is going to produce around 9.5 lakh units every year. Okay. And we're selling power at only 4 to 5 rupees. So taking 4.5 rupees, we're looking at a revenue generation of 42 lakhs.
Okay. Okay.
So your investment is 1 crore, revenue is 42 lakhs. What we need to pay back is the loan of 1.25 crores. We're going to pay back over a period of 15 years.
Okay. Okay. Correct.
So we're looking at somewhere close to 15 lakhs as repayment in loans. So your net is 27 lakhs, another 2-3 lakhs for your maintenance. So your take home is almost 24 lakhs.
That's 24% on a crore investment.
24% on a crore without, we're being a little aggressive on the numbers, but these are very, very achievable numbers.
Okay, but then do we have tax benefit on the income on?
You don't have tax benefit on the income, but you have tax benefit on 2.25 crores, not on the 1 crore that you've invested.
Okay. Okay.
Because the overall project cost is 2.25 crores. You're going to write off 40% of that. So you're writing off 80 lakhs to 85 lakhs in year one. So if you're in the 33% slab rate, you're saving another cool 20-25 lakhs just in taxes.
And if I have not made that much income in that year, I can carry it forward for 8 years.
You could keep carrying it forward.
Oh, okay. I mean, this is This is pretty interesting as an investment option. Even if I can't really generate electricity, I can generate income to pay these bills, right? What kind of what's the government looking at in terms of promoting solar energy? Like you rightly said, it's a criminal waste of an energy source like this. We're sitting in a hottest place, and we can't make use of it, right? How is the government looking at making it easier for us?
Okay, so the government classifies solar into kind of 2 or 3 different buckets. One is your rooftop solar, which is something that you put on top of roofs. Another one is your open access, which is similar to like a windmill being set up somewhere else, and then you transmit and wheel power to your customer. And third is really large scale utility plants where you build and sell power only to the government.
Okay. Okay.
So these are 3 different brackets. The large scale is really large scale. We're talking about a minimum investment of around 400, 500 crores. And it's basically played in, it's a field with a lot of PEs coming in who are willing to put in that kind of money and wait for almost 6, 7 years or even 8 years to take back their money.
Okay.
Let's leave that alone for now.
Okay.
The other two are something that we can look at. Rooftop solar, the net metering policy, which came in around 2012, around 13, 14 in most states, I think is a great boost to rooftop solar across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole policy where you don't have to worry about what am I consuming right now. I could just send money. I could just send the power back, and I will get it deducted from my bill. Is a great policy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a policy which has been there around the world, and which has been now introduced in India. For rooftop, I feel like that policy is good, and they're doing reasonably well with that. The only issue is implementation, as you know, in most cases in India. Finally, you will have to knock on the EB guy's door to come and install a meter or come and inspect your plant, and that's where you lose around a month and a half. But apart from that, the policy on the whole is reasonably good. The second is the open access, where you set up a plant, say you have a land of 5 acres or 10 acres.
Okay.
And we basically are putting 2 megawatt, and then you're supplying to an industry which is say 300, 400 kilometers away. So the policy for that will keep changing, or the tariff that you pay to EV for your wheeling and your banking charges and the losses will keep changing every year.
Okay.
So typically we're talking about around 40 to 50 paisa per kilowatt hour that we pay to EV purely for just using their utility grid. There is some resistance from the government for this because a lot of people are moving away from buying power from the grid to buying power from third-party people. So with that, they are slowly hiking the price. It was around 25, 30 paisa a few years back. Now it's 40 paisa. They're trying to slowly creep the pricing up to kind of negate this. But on the other side, the solar prices are dropping. So you still have new plants coming in.
Yeah.
So in open access, there is a little more government risk in terms of policy, because the amount that you're going to pay to the EB keeps changing every year. But on the whole, it's still a very investable model.
Yeah.
Because you have economies of scale. You're doing 5 megawatt or 6 megawatt at one site. Therefore, your costs come down. And that cost is essentially the differential of that 50, 60 paisa which you're paying to EB.
Okay. Yeah. The transmission, you have to depend on the EB grids, right? So that production is control, but the transmission is something, unless it's right on top of your roof.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So we have a couple of questions coming in. So what is the minimum ticket size, and what are the risks, and how are they covered? These assets may become obsolete due to constant wear and tear and changes in the technology. So that's, I think, a very pertinent question here from PSN.
Thank you, PSN. Very good question. So the minimum ticket size depends on your appetite. I would say at least a 10, 15 lakh kind of investment will start making sense because for a company like us, where we're looking at a 15, 20 megawatt pipeline, our total requirement is almost 100 crores. And even if you look at 60 crores of debt from that, we still need to raise 30 odd crores in equity.
Okay.
And if you're looking at an equity investment, or if you're looking at a debt investment, I would say a minimum size of 15 lakhs is something that we could start to work with.
Okay. So you're telling them that if they have a 10-15 lakh surplus, they could consider investing in putting up solar panel, not on their rooftops, but elsewhere to generate income.
Correct. So they will have to go through a structure where they are either investing it as equity, where they're taking a little more risk, or they're essentially lending money to that entity, and where they will have a lien over the assets.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
So what are the risks that are there in this? So let's just go over that quickly. First, we are talking about technology risk. Second is payment risk in terms of you supply power, but the payment does not come through. Third is regulatory risk. Let's go over each of them one by one. So in terms of technology risks, solar is a proven concept. We've had plants which have been running for over 40, 50 years, and we know what is the generation. And in India, we have close to 130 gigawatt installed, if I'm correct, if I get the number right. That's almost 1 lakh megawatt of plants which are already installed and running. So we are very confident in terms of what is the output that we're going to get in any part of India. So the technology risk is kind of nullified because we have very good track record of it.
Okay.
Second is the payment risk. So you say you're going and putting up solar on top of a roof of a company. What if the company doesn't pay you? So we take guarantees from them at least for 1 year of production.
Okay.
So if they don't pay us for 2 or 3 months, what we could do is we could essentially disassemble and reassemble the plant elsewhere.
Okay. It's like going and taking the car and coming away if they don't pay,
exactly.
Right? We possess.
Yes. And what we have is a technology we have a product which is producing electricity. And we have a pipeline of customers who are asking us for electricity.
Okay. So second hand, you can give the asset second hand.
Okay. As a zero investment model client, they are not worried about what plant you're putting in. For them, it's more about what generation and what is the saving that I'm having as of today.
Yeah.
So we will have the ability to move the plant from one place to another, probably in 3, 4, 5 months. There will be a cost to it because we will lose the structures. It depends on this thing. So we're looking at around 5-6% of the project cost, which is being lost. But that's not too much because everything else is salvageable and reusable.
Right.
The third question that PSN's asked is obsolete due to constant wear and tear and changes in technology. That's 2 questions actually in one. So for the constant wear and tear, solar panels come with a 25-year warranty. So at the end of the 25th year, the panel manufacturer guarantees that we will produce 80% of what we produced in year 1.
Oh, okay.
So we already have a warranty and a guarantee from a panel manufacturer, and we have an ongoing relationship with those manufacturers. So that's a great way to, we are more or less we are taking the wear and tear into consideration of around 1% a year, but it's not going to drop off completely and we're not going to not produce anything. Okay. Yes, there is going to be a 2-3% or maybe a 4% variation between different years, but that could be attributed just to weather.
Okay. Okay.
You have years in which there are more rainy days and less rainy days. That's going to affect your overall yearly production. But on a longer term and a longer scale, you're going to be kind of taken care of.
I have a question here, a related question. You said solar panel prices have dropped 80%, right? I mean, in the last 5-6 years. So somebody who's invested in 2012, I mean, have they really lost the value of their investment?
No, not at all. Because what we do is we get into a long-term power purchase agreement. So I'm not signing up a power purchase agreement for a year or 2. Whenever you're selling power, based on the investment, you sign up for a 10, 15, 20 years.
Okay.
So there are still solar power plants which were set up in 2012, which is supplying power to the government at almost 18 rupees, 20 rupees per kilowatt hour.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas the government is still honoring that because the investment cost at that point in time, the return expectations are the same.
Okay.
Today, our prices have come down. So today, it makes sense for us to go talk to a direct corporate customer. At 20 rupees a kilowatt hour, I can't talk to a corporate customer.
Correct.
He's losing money.
Yeah.
Today we're already 30 or 40% lesser than grid.
Mm.
So there's no incentive for him to change.
Okay. Okay.
You've already put solar panels on his roof. He's buying power grid from you at 4 rupees. He's not made an investment. And even if there's going to be a panel price drop in the next 4 or 5 years and prices further decrease, he's going to look at a 50 paisa, 70 paisa, 80 paisa difference in rupee per unit, which is not a great amount.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that way, he's not like super incentivized to actually change. And what we also do to prevent that is we kind of overload things upfront. So when we enter into a PPA, some of our contracts will be like, okay, you start paying at 5 rupees. Every 2 years, I will reduce by your price by 20 paisa.
Okay. 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 Okay.
So at year 5, when solar panel prices have come down, if you're thinking of a new project and if they're thinking of a PPA with the same return expectations, your prices between what they're paying at that point in time versus a new plant is going to be very similar. So there is no motivation for the client to change.
But you also said that the solar panel efficiencies have improved over the years, right? So if we put something that's 5 years old and now we have something that's more efficient, would there be an upgrade needed?
So when we are talking about efficiency, it's more to do with amount of electricity produced in one square feet or 1 square meter of roof area.
Okay. Okay.
That is what is being increased. But the overall output per kilowatt installed is almost same.
Okay. You can just put out a smaller panel and
just that you're going to have a smaller panel. It's not that you're going to have any additional output in terms of what you're paying.
So it's efficiency in terms of space used.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Good. So Mani Joseph is asked, okay, I'm from Aurangabad, Maharashtra. I have put up solar panels on the rooftop and it's producing surplus units. But we are told that the MSEB doesn't buy power. So our excess unit production is going waste. Can you guide how to get the payments for the surplus units produced?
Mani, good question. But unfortunately, this is a policy question. It's Karnataka which had a policy where they will pay you money for what you send back to the grid.
Okay.
In Maharashtra, that's not there.
Okay.
Which is why we design a system such that you don't give free power to the electricity grid. So today, it's not possible for you to get money back from them. But what you could do is you could see if you can increase your consumption.
Okay.
If you buy an electric vehicle, your entire consumption is you're moving from an expenditure on petrol to expenditure on electricity where you already have free electricity. Therefore, your overall electricity is going to come down. But apart from that, getting money from EV is not something that is doable today.
Can I store and recharge batteries and then give it to somebody else? I mean, I forget the grid and the government. Can I just distribute it amongst my neighbors?
Yes, you could do that, but then you will have an additional battery cost, which is going to be an investment, and then you need to see your return on investment on your batteries. As I told you, the battery prices are just starting to drop. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, this will be a very good business model. But then you will also have to figure out how you're going to charge your batteries, who you're going to give, what's it that you're going to charge, a lot of other questions, which is not great for a homeowner to get into.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Mani, I hope that answers your question. So Rashmi is asking, what is the cost involved for a 3-story building if they have to put up? How much will it cost them?
3-story is a general kind of a number. If you could tell me the number of apartments or units or something like that, it's easier to calculate the overall expected power consumption.
Expected power consumption. But
so with that, we could kind of look at what it would cost. But I would say maybe a 20 kilowatt, probably in a 3-story building, which is going to cost you somewhere close to around 10 lakhs, is a good number to kind of start.
She says there are 4 flats, so that's about 12 flats. Yeah.
There are about 12 flats. So 12 flats, okay. You would need at least 36 to 40 kilowatt.
Okay.
So 36 to 40 kilowatt, around 18 to 20 lakhs is going to be your overall cost. But because there are more number of apartments in just 3 stories, we also need to check if there is enough roof space. likely to be enough, but it's something that needs to be checked.
Okay, okay. So, okay. I hope that answers Rashmi's question. Sandeep has a question. Where does our funds go? What is the legal entity of the company that we are investing in? I think that's more the investment related question.
Yes. So what we do is we set up a separate SPV. We start a separate company for each specific company. If it's a power purchase agreement with, say, corporate A, we set up a separate SPV, and we will take investments into that company. And you will essentially, if it's an equity investment, you will own shares of that company. If it's going to be a debt investment, you're going to have lien over the assets of that company.
Okay, okay, okay. So there's a special purpose vehicle that you will create for each project.
Yes.
Okay.
Or rather, each investor. So if there's going to be one large investor who's looking at, say, 10 different projects, we would still just create one SPV, have that investor come in and do the projects in just that SPV.
And even if it's an equity investment, these, I mean, there is the backing of the assets, right? The underlying assets are owned by the investors.
Yes, the underlying assets are always owned by the company. And if it's equity investment, you will own equity directly in the company.
Directly in the company. So it's pretty much like a secured investment.
Exactly.
But having said that, what's the worst that can go wrong? What can really go wrong with this whole thing?
What can really go wrong? I think the worst case scenario is something that we discussed, where we'll have to move the plants from one customer to another. I think that's one of the worst case scenarios. What are the other? Yeah, I don't see that there's going to be too many other worst case scenarios, because the panels, worst case scenario, if everything goes to waste and whatever, you just need to sell panels and your inverter and take your money back. That's going to be like really this thing, but you will still have a reasonable salvage value for that in terms of selling it out to other installers, investors, because there are a lot of people who are doing corporate PPAs, and they would be willing to buy panels and inverters.
So there's a lot of demand, you're saying. Demand-wise, there is quite a bit.
We've not even scratched the surface in terms of demand. We're just, if you take the whole of India in terms of rooftops, we've just done 10 gigawatt-ish, whereas we're looking at almost at least 100 to 200 gigawatt as minimum requirement for SMEs alone.
Oh, okay.
So
Not even.
Yeah, there's a huge demand, and it's just going to go up.
Okay, interesting. How do you monitor whether the panels are working full potential or not?
That's a great question. It's a more technical question. What we do is we have all our investors have access to what the plant is generating right now. What we have is we have a data monitoring system, both from the inverter side, and we have our own proprietary data monitoring system, which will measure what is the output at every instant in time. So if there is any issue, it's going to show up a red flag immediately.
Okay.
And what we do with our data monitoring is we collect all the data and we do preventive maintenance.
Okay.
Before a plant fails or before the plant starts reducing the output, we will know that there's going to be an issue. Okay. We're monitoring almost 200 to 300 parameters per plant.
Okay.
To make sure that we are on top of each plant.
Okay. So these are all inbuilt technology in at the time of installation itself.
Yes. Okay. This is more or less something that a reasonable installer will just do right off the bat without any other questions.
So I can pretty much know, okay, it's been raining heavily in Mumbai today, so my production would be like 40%.
Yes. So what we do is we also have an irradiation sensor there. So we know what is the amount of sunlight that's actually hitting the panels.
Okay.
Sunlight, output, you basically check each of them at all given points in time. You know how your plant is performing. Okay. You know how your plant is expected to perform at different points of sunlight as well. Given sunlight and temperature, you can kind of estimate the output.
Okay, good. Oh, that's great. Okay. So Sandeep's asking a follow-up question on the SPV. His question is, when we set up an SPV whereby we invest as equity, returns will be given as dividends, and will there be dividend distribution tax?
Yes. So if it's equity, it will have to be given as dividend. and then there's going to be DDT on that. That will be there. Um, what we could do is we could look at having preferential shares or having it as structured debt as well.
Okay.
So we could return it as interest on this thing as well. So the structures, there are quite a few structures, and we could sit down to understand what makes sense
Yeah, but
for
the
a
DDT
particular
will be
case.
much lesser on equity than interest, the tax on interest.
Yes, that's true. Yes,
Yeah.
the DDT will
And
be.
depending on your tax, I'm just butting in to answer this question. Depending on your tax, how your taxes are, what rate of tax you're paying, you should either structure it as receiving as dividends and pay DDT at a much lesser rate than receiving as interest and paying your marginal tax rate. So, and that's a decision you can take at the time. There's flexibility on all of that, is it?
True.
Okay, great. Shankar is asking, on a 300 square foot of terrace space, how much power can be produced?
A 300 square foot, typically of 300 square feet of shadow-free region, we can install 3 kilowatt. A 3 kilowatt is going to, in terms of units, on a bi-monthly basis, is going to be around 770 units. And on a yearly basis, you're looking at around 4,500 odd units.
Okay. Will that be enough if it's an independent house with a family of about 4 or 5 people living? Would that be enough for them?
This should be around 60-70% of your consumption.
Okay, 60-70% of your consumption. Okay, Shankar, I hope that answers your question. So I think we've largely answered most of the questions that are here. So just wrapping this up, Vivek, what do you think is the future for solar in India? What do you think? How can we make use of this revolution in solar?
That's a great question. So if you look at it, solar, the future of solar is very bright, and it's almost set in stone. That there is going to be a large increase in number of solar installations across the country. There are 2-3 ways in which we can look at how to cash in on it or how to be part of the revolution.
Yeah.
One is investing in a project like this where you have a good client and you're selling power to them with solar. That helps you. Another is if you're more entrepreneurial, when you're starting a new unit where power is going to be one of your major components, I would say that plan for solar from day one. Another thing that you could do is get on the bandwagon where the rooftop solar policies are still good in most states. Do a rooftop solar for your house or your apartment complex, convince those people to do something today. Because as the policies change, they're trying to reduce government support for it. Okay. The other thing is probably look at solar technology companies and solar installation companies which are listed and see if, how they're doing, and maybe invest in them as well. As the market grows, I'm pretty sure those companies will grow as well.
Okay, so I mean, there are a lot of listed companies in India, is it? Solar.
There are not too many. There are still very few. There is Sharpoji Padoji's Sterling and Wilson, which is a listed company. L&T has a wing in solar, but again, they're more into EPC. They're not an asset owner. They don't generate revenue from assets. They just do installation and get money from that. Okay. There are a couple of smaller companies in your SME stock exchange that are listed. And listing is something that we are looking into as well, probably 2-3 years down the line.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's amazing. So, if you have to just give us a little intro of what all Shirol does for the benefit of our audience, that'll just be helpful.
Sure. Shirol Energy, we've started the company in 2013. We've been in solar field since then. We've done around 100 odd installations, mainly rooftops. And we have a combined installation of around 5 megawatt. On the zero investment model or solar as you go model, we've installed 1 megawatt and made an exit as well. We have sold that to a tax investor who's bought out the entire megawatt for their tax saving purposes. This is purely on the achievement side and other things. And we do projects both in India and Africa. We've done a few projects in Africa as well.
Okay.
In terms of the technology side, we are, as I told you, we have our proprietary data logging machine, and we are also working on 3 different products where we can improve the output of an existing plant.
Okay.
So that's on the technology side and more on the research side that we're working on.
Okay.
And in terms of what we provide to our customers, we do anything related to solar right now.
Okay.
Rooftop solar, solar water heaters, solar street lights. We also have a partnership with another company for doing solar steam generation for canteens, large cooking, large places where you need to cook. And yeah, and we do end to end. Like we've done consulting for another company which wanted to get into solar, and we were guiding them in terms of what the Indian market is and helping them set up. So that's the gamut of things that we provide at Shirol Energy.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. That's quite a bit, and I'm sure, like you said, you're just scratching the the surface. So can you share your website, or how can people reach out in case they want to for whatever queries, questions?
Sure, I will. You have my email ID. I could share my email ID right away.
I can just share it on chat. Can you just spell it out for us?
Yeah, Vivek.
Yeah.
At Shirol Energy, SHIROI.
Oh, SHIROI, is it? Okay. Why was I saying
Energy, ENERGY.com.
Shiroi Energy. Okay. SHIROI energy.com. Okay. Vivek at shiroienergy.com. So feel free to reach out, and thank you, Vivek. I mean, it's been extremely inspiring and insightful talking to you, and I really appreciate you taking time off to come and talk to us. This video will be available on social media and be sent out to all people who've registered for attending the webinar. Please feel free to share it with your contacts as well. And it's been such a pleasure talking to you, Vivek. And the audience, thank you very, very much for being the amazing audience that you always have been, and asking very smart, intelligent questions. So thank you so much. Thanks, Vivek.
Thanks, Puna. Just before we close out, if I could take a minute, I feel like as human beings on Earth, what we are doing is we are taking resources from the environment, and everything that we are using today is resources from the environment. I want each of us to be mindful about what resources we are using and how to use that sustainably. It does not necessarily mean that you have to do solar. There are so many other things that you could do to change your lifestyle, change what you are doing and how you're living your day-to-day life. And I'm sure that will make an impact on Earth. I would really love all of you to reach out to me if you want anything to do with sustainability or environmental, anything to do with environment in terms of how to live more sustainably, energy audits, how to reduce your consumption, consumerism, etc. as well.
Great, superb. So thank you. 1 minute. People want your website. So it's
shiroienergy.com.
shiroienergy.com. And your Twitter handle, just in case they want to.
At SVivek88.
SVivek88. Okay, great. Great. I hope I got that right on the chat box. So please feel free to reach out to him. Vivek is very accessible and active. So I think that parting message was very important for all of us. And thank you very much. I think it's all our responsibility to take this very seriously, so we can leave behind something that's sensible to our next generation. Right. Thank you so much, Vivek, for your generosity, for your time, and for all of that that you did for us today. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience. Have a great weekend, all of you. And signing off. Bye-bye.
Thank you. A pleasure. Thank you.